This is Just Women, every Tuesday at 1 o'clock on Brooklands Radio.
I'd like to welcome Jane Atherton. She's the author of a couple of menopause books and creator of Phytomone, which is a menopause therapy spa range. So welcome to Just Women today, Jane.
Thank you very much.
Now, I notice from your background that you actually started in the beauty industry and studied clinical nutrition over 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. So what made you take such an interest in the menopause, which you hadn't actually experienced yourself?
Well, I have, actually.
But at that time you wouldn't have done.
No.
So,
I mean, it's just literally, I started off in the beauty industry working for some of the top cosmetic houses, and then we moved over to Hong Kong, where I studied clinical nutrition, and I opened up my own private practice. And it just so happened that my clients, the majority of them happened to be menopausal women, so a lot of the questions were coming up were revolving around menopause. And I was at the age myself where I was in perimenopause, and I needed to look into it myself. So I was talking to doctors and healthcare workers out there, and we collected all of this information and put it into a book, basically. And I was actually astounded that so many women don't realise what's going to happen to them. They think like menopause is something in the future, it's going to happen one day, and we don't prepare for it like we do, say, pregnancy or puberty or whatever. It just sort of arrives and then we learn about it. So I thought I'd get all of this very valuable information and put it in a book, and so women can prepare.
So it must be very difficult and unusual for someone to devote themselves solely to something which most people don't even want to think about.
Well, I think I had the interest in it anyway, because when I was studying my clinical nutrition course, I did touch on endocrinology and the hormones. So that sort of led me down that route, and I was starting to experience symptoms myself that I wasn't familiar with, and to be honest, I didn't even connect them to menopause, because I mean the hallmark of menopause is a hot flush, obviously. I mean, and there are over 4 million women who are in menopause actually in the UK at the moment. We get hot flushes, but there are so many other symptoms that you don't really connect, and it's when you look into it further then people think, oh, thank goodness, you know, I thought something was wrong with me, and they can actually relate it, and they actually feel more comfortable talking about it. And I think this is what I'd like to get women to do, talk more about menopause.
So how early could someone expect to experience some symptoms then?
Surprisingly, your hormones can start fluctuating by the age of 35. So, sorry, ladies, but it can be that early. Now, that is not the norm. I mean, normally, you reach menopause when you're 51, 52, and that is defined when you've gone 12 months without a period. That's when you've reached menopause. The period before is called perimenopause, when your hormones fluctuate and you start to get the symptoms. And that can last, on average, I think it's between 2 to 5 years, but it can start as early as 35. And I think the sooner you know about it and you're aware of what's going to happen to you, then it's not such a shock, basically.
So when you say they start at 35, does that mean that you continue them right through until you start the menopause, or do they go away and come back?
Menopause, when you say start the menopause, menopause is 3 stages. You've got the perimenopause, when you reach menopause, and then you're post-menopause. So, and you're post-menopause literally the rest of your life. So when you've gone 12 months without your period, that's when you've reached menopause, and you're just literally in menopause for that one day, because after that you're post-menopause. So, and then that's when your hormones have reached that all-time low, and they'll never go back again, and you'll be post-menopausal for the rest of your life. And because we are living longer now, it's like most women live at least 30 years after menopause, whereas back in the day you probably didn't really live much longer after menopause. So it's really, really important that you look after your health, your diet, your lifestyle, nutrition, and make time for yourself as well, so you actually enjoy life.
Do you find that generally children will start the menopause when they're old at the same time as their mothers and their grandmothers? Does it run in the family?
Not really. I mean, every woman's menopausal journey is different. You know, what works for one won't work for another, and it's not necessarily connected. I mean, I know people do say if your mother started early, you will. I mean, my mother started early, but I didn't. So it really is a very individual journey, and you've just got to be aware of the slight changes. You know, your moodiness, your obviously hot flushes, mood swings, and just connect the dots and think, actually, this is probably the start of menopause. And then that's when you need to start really looking at your diet and changing your diet, eating more phytoestrogens and plant hormones. Exercise, change your exercise routine slightly so you're muscle building as well, because, your muscles can waste away. So, just be aware of it, basically.
And are there any unusual symptoms that you've come across?
There are many, which, and on the Facebook page that we run, we have, the obvious ones, which are the mood swings and the hot flushes and the night sweats and irritability and sleeplessness, but there are so many other different ones as well, which people probably won't think of. There's low sex drive, you get anxiety, heart palpitations, dizziness, vertigo, facial hair, probably more headaches. If you're prone to headaches, probably when you're just before your period, you might find that they'll be more severe. Electric shocks and tingling, restless legs. There's many. And if you're getting strange symptoms, I would always say just either Google it or go onto our Facebook page if you want confirmation and what you're going through is connected to the menopause.
I always think it's difficult because there are lots of symptoms of menopause. And how do you decide, actually, I am going through the menopause, or there might be a medical problem? So.
Yeah, I would always say if you are worried, then definitely go to see a GP about it. He can do a test. A lot of GPs don't like doing tests for menopause because you could go in and it could be negative or positive, but if your hormones on that particular day are either up or down, it won't give you an accurate reading. But most women, they know their bodies and they can sense, but some women like to go just for confirmation, basically. But if there's anything that you're really worried about, one thing like heart palpitations, which can be extremely worrying, but most of the time it really probably is just connected to the menopause.
If you actually go along to your doctor, do you find that the doctors are quite helpful? Or if the patient said, look, I'm doing this, I read the book that Jane Atherton had done, do you find that they're sympathetic to that, or do they tend to sort of say, oh, well, you should just take this tablet for this and do that?
Do you know, it's the luck of the draw, because we have so many of our ladies saying they've got fantastic GPs and they take the time to talk to them, because it's not only a medical problem, it is an emotional as well. Doctors can go and they can prescribe HRT if that's what you want, or antidepressants, and then you'll get another doctor because doctors, to be honest, they don't get that much training in menopause. I think it's about 4 hours in their whole medical profession that is devoted to menopause, and they don't necessarily keep up with the latest things that are going on. But saying that, the British Menopause Society have just said that there's a new guideline coming out for doctors which they are going to have to follow. So if you go in with menopausal concern, they're going to have all of this new the guideline which they're going to have to adhere to, which hopefully will make it a little bit easy for both sides. But some women have fantastic doctors, others unfortunately not so much.
Do you think if a woman's going to her GP, she should perhaps ask to see a female GP? Because obviously females do understand that even if they haven't had the menopause so far, they're going to get it, whereas a man can't really understand what a woman goes through, can he?
I agree with you. I don't think, as far, obviously, to prescribe things and from a medical point of view, yes, but unless you've experienced menopause, and I think sometimes women doctors as well, especially the young ones, they unless you've lived through the experience, you cannot relate to it. The symptoms that you get, a lot of ladies, that's why the Facebook page is so popular, because they can actually relate to each other. And if I said to a 20-year-old or a 25-year-old woman about a menopausal symptom that I'm having, she can probably sympathise, but I don't think she'd understand. And I don't think, unless you've lived through it, you can't. And that's why it's so nice to talk to other ladies.
What I was going to say is, do you think it's a good idea to tell those around you that you're suffering from these symptoms and you think it's a menopause, to get them to be sympathetic? Or do you find that people aren't sympathetic at all, just saying, oh, well, you just have to cope with that?
Absolutely, get it out there. Definitely, I think the more we can talk about it, and especially now as we are living longer, it is more, and women, they're more professional women out there, they're having to work through menopause, but that's probably another show within itself, working through menopause, can be difficult, but the more we talk about it and the more open that we are about it, we've got to lose that stigma, I think, that's attached to menopause, and, just tell people and say, look, this is why I'm being like this, and explain how you're feeling, definitely.
So even if you're in a work situation, you say someone who's got quite a high-powered job, you think it's worth that woman
Absolutely.
saying to her team, look, I'm sorry if I'm a bit like this, but it's the menopause.
Absolutely. I think keep that communication line open, talk to them. If whatever symptoms you're going through, if it is affecting your job, then definitely just have a quiet word and just say, look, this is what's happening to me. Because, some women can be totally devastated by some symptoms, and those same symptoms probably won't have any effect on another woman. And if it is affecting you to that degree, and it's affecting your job and your lifestyle, then, if you explain and keep that communication line open, I think people will be more understanding, definitely.
Now, you've actually got so much to talk about that you've written books on this. So if we actually go and get one of your books, what are we actually going to learn from that we might not learn from perhaps going online or chatting to our friends?
I think it's all condensed. I think people are very busy these days, and I think there's also a lot of information you can get from your friends, just talking to them what they're experiencing. But I think the book is sort of broken down into 4 sections. We've got the medical section at the front, which is the cause and the cure section, which, all those worrying things medical wise. But then we've got a diet section in the book, what you should be eating more of, exercise, types of exercise you should be doing now. And then the last section really is lifestyle, which is probably one of the most important sections in the book, because if you can make time for yourself and do things for you, and you can actually take time out, do things like yoga, meditation, and you're changing, you're at a different stage of your life now, and you need to put yourself first, and if you feel good about yourself, I think you can then control the menopause rather than it controlling you, and I think that attitude towards it can keep it all in perspective, basically.
What's your view on homeopathic remedies when you go into the health food shops and they've got star anise and all of these sort of things?
Definitely. I think sage, for example, off the top of my head, that is very, very popular for hot flushes. I mean, sage acts like cools the blood. So if night sweats, brilliant for that. And definitely, I think, again, it will work for some women brilliantly. No guarantee. But then there's no guarantee that HRT will work either,
Are there certain foods that can actually, or external factors that can bring on the menopause early or can make it worse than it actually could be?
I think you've got to look at your food and your diet, definitely. I think because, you're losing estrogen and progesterone. So if you can actually eat foods which are rich in plant hormones like dark leaf green vegetables, and another one is maca root, actually, which is a Peruvian root which you can buy in health shops, and what that does, it actually supports the adrenal glands, because when you lose your ovarian hormones, the adrenal glands take over and they actually produce estrogen as well, and if you can actually balance that, then your adrenal glands should be capable of supplying the lost hormones from the ovarian. So
going way back to my antenatal classes and postnatal classes, there were a couple of women who thought they were going through the menopause and became pregnant during that time. Do you find you hear lots of...
Yes, definitely. I mean, while you're in perimenopause, you're still having your periods. They will become irregular. I mean, you may not get one for 3 months, and then you probably get them every day or twice a month, or whatever. But during that time, you must remember you can get pregnant. It's only when you've gone a complete 12 months that your hormones are at that all-time low, you've run out of eggs, basically, and you can't get pregnant. But just be aware during perimenopause, take precautions. Yeah.
Now, we've talked about your books, but another thing that you've done a lot of for people is to introduce a new range of things like skincare and things. Is your skin very badly affected during the menopause? I mean, so much so that you really need to give it special treatment?
Well, what happens during menopause is you lose estrogen. Now, estrogen is responsible for making collagen. Now, if you don't have estrogen, you stop making collagen, and that's when you lose firmness and suppleness. So what we've done is we've gone slightly different from other cosmetic lines where they use collagen boosters. What we've done is we've actually concentrated on very powerful plant hormones, and what they do is they actually latch onto your estrogen receptors, and your skin thinks it's still got estrogen, so it carries on making collagen. So we've gone down that route of making the skin believe it's still receiving estrogen. So very different from a cosmetic, ordinary cosmetics, which just use collagen boosters, basically.
So it's an amazingly scientific recipe that you're using for your skin creams. So what range do they come in? Is it just skin for the face, or what else is in the range?
We've got our Pores Hydrocreme is our hero product of the range, and that is got 6 special actives in it, which has got the plant stem cells, the plant hormones, and it's actually that the molecular structure is very, very similar to human estrogen. So it does, it absorbs into the skin. It's in a special delivery system, and it actually increases skin density and firmness. So your skin looks brighter and fresher. Wrinkles appear less noticeable, and it has actually been endorsed by doctors as well. So it is a little bit more than your average high street moisturising cream, basically.
And where is this on sale then at the moment?
Well, we're in talks with several stores in London at the moment, and it's going into chemists. It's available on our website, www.phytomone.com, and you can read all about it on there as well.
And how does it compare to other expensive face creams? Because some of them that they market these days are just an extortionate price, aren't they?
Well, it is, and again, you've got to look at the ingredients that we've used, and also because it's so advanced, our product, you don't need to use separate eye creams, serums, neck creams, moisturisers, night creams, day creams. It's literally the next generation of super creams, and it's taken us 4 years to develop this product, and we rejected about 50 formulations. It was very, very important to get it right, purely because we were dealing with plant hormones, and it needed to deliver, basically, and it does what it says on the packet. And it's in an airless pump as well, so it protects the ingredients right down to the last drop, because a lot of creams, if they're in a jar and they've got all of these precious ingredients in, the minute you open the jar, they oxidise, and you're left then with a very expensive basic moisturiser. So always use an airless pump without a doubt to protect the ingredients.
And do you find that people just have to use this until the menopause is over, or is that something that you'd use for the rest of your life?
I would recommend, because your hormones do start fluctuating from the age of 35, then from 35 onwards. Anybody younger, I wouldn't sell it to them because they don't need it. Your skin has got a plentiful supply of collagen. Before 35, you don't need anything more than a good moisturiser with SPF filters in it. So don't waste your money. You can't delay ageing. It's no good using an anti-aging cream at 25 thinking you're going to delay the ageing process, because you've got so much collagen in your skin, and your body's more than capable of producing it at that age. So after 35 onwards, that's when you need this product.
So people could look at us and think that we're about 35 then, could they?
I was thinking 20, actually.
Oh, right. Shame we're only a radio station, not television.
I think you look good. It makes you look the best you possibly can. I think, if you see women who have had plastic surgery and they've gone too far and it just looks comical, basically. Yeah. So look as best as you can for your age.
So going back to you, Jane, can you give us a couple of top tips for menopausal ladies, either pre or post-menopausal, and definitely. Also your contact details?
Yeah. One thing that I found when I was writing the book and talking to all of the women was how emotional and upset they got. And I always say to those types of people is, write it down, do some journal writing, because actually if you've got nobody to talk to, or if you're sitting at home, just start a journal and just write down how you feel, what's upset you that day, or how you're feeling. And once it's down on paper, it's almost like a relief. This very therapeutic type of writing can really be advantageous. So I would always say just write things down, and it's also a very good record of your symptoms, and you can look back and you can actually perhaps see if there's anything specific that's triggering off hot flushes, that the type of food that you might be eating, or wine or coffee or whatever. So I'd always say, buy yourself a nice journal, sit down, and in the evenings write it down, and it is very, very therapeutic and relaxing. And then just something completely different is HRT. I won't go into this an awful lot, obviously, because it's a big subject, but a lot of women, to go on HRT is quite a big decision within itself anyway, and a lot of women either so many concerns surrounding it, which really, there shouldn't be nowadays because, it's moved on. But when women have made the decision to go on HRT, a lot of them find that it doesn't work. And then they get very upset and very frustrated. They've taken this huge decision to go on HRT. And what they don't realise is so many times it doesn't work the first time. And they don't think to go back to the doctor and say, I need my dose changed, or can I have a different application? They just think it's not working. So if you have made that decision to go onto HRT and you're finding, give it a few weeks to get into the system, but if you're finding it's not working how it should, or you're disappointed with it, it could just be something simple, like you need your dose upping, or you need a different application, like a patch rather than a tablet. So do go back and don't sit and think, I'm coming off it now, it's a waste of time, and feel sad and frustrated. So always go back if you've made that decision to go onto HRT.
And what about your contact details? Not only do you have a website, but you have lots of followers, don't you, on your Facebook page?
The Facebook page we run sort of in conjunction with our website, but the Facebook page is called facebook.com/menopause remedies. So that's the name of the Facebook page, and we've got over 10,000 ladies on there, and they are absolutely fantastic. They are so supportive of each other that I'm just so proud that they've taken the page on, and they chat to each other. They're always there during the night if you can't sleep, and we get so much interaction on the page and we are the #1 Facebook page in the UK for menopause. So if any ladies do want support, or they just want to read the comments, which in themselves are invaluable, and you just get reassurance, you just think, I've got black spots in front of my eyes, what's that? And you will see ladies on there who've got the same thing, and it's just like, thank goodness, and there's so many different things. So please have a look at that Facebook page. Our website, as I said, is www.phytomone